earbuds, which is usually a pretty good sign that I'm going to be doing this old school. Love that music. That music means that we're going live on the lifeboat. So, my bobbleheaded partner, if you've been on the boat for any length of time, you know that a while back Mark lost his best friend's son passed away. It was really a tough time for Mark and for his best friend, obviously. But he is with his best friend. They're sort of celebrating the life of the son. They did a lot of fantasy football stuff, and it's getting on to that time again, where people are going to be starting to do fantasy football and such. And Mark is going to be spending time with them tonight, and it's good. It's awesome that he has a chance to be with them, and I think it's probably going to be a healing time tonight. People, we're going to be talking about booze, and this isn't a subject that gets a ton of airtime from me. Can I get a 5x5? Is everybody here able to hear me? I hope that. Let me see. Yeah, there we go. Jonathan Hicks. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Charlie. Full of hope. Boy, we got the whole crew. Space Diesel, good to see you. Ladybug, Miss V. I am the noise opera. Terror the Sailor. Always good to see the faithful, the regulars, the people that have been with the boat a long time. It's great to see you all here. But alcohol doesn't get a lot of airtime here for some reasons that are somewhat obvious. Wasn't my drug of choice, and I never really had a problem with it. I abused a lot of substances in my life. I never abused alcohol, and I think that for me personally, it took too long. It may sound crazy, but I wanted instant gratification, and there was effort involved in the process of drinking that. I mean, I wanted my problems taken away in a split second, and I know that over time it works like that for people who develop, alcoholism, because just that first taste will release endorphins in the brain and make them think, the dopamine gets released, and all of a sudden they feel fine. So for that reason, we don't spend a lot of time talking about alcohol, and it really is an unbelievably dangerous drug. If you're someone that drinks and, you do it socially, you do it, it's not something that you have a problem with. I don't normally badmouth substances. I badmouth addiction. But alcohol is a little different. And tonight I'm just going to be really honest. I'm going to tell you some things about it that, is really kind of heavy. Full of Hope says, "Oh boy, it was alcohol for me. Tommy, you must never have a drink. It raw and like a glass of water, it worked fast." I believe that. I think for people that, once you slide into the addictive process, then it's not just the substance anymore. It is your reward center of the brain telling you that what you're doing is vital and it's important and it's literally a matter of life or death. Those chemicals are there to help us do things that are going to keep us alive and on the planet. I had been drinking on every show. You know what? We have a lot of people that used to come and drink, on every show here. Don't get mad at people for that. Truthfully, we want people here, whether you're sober or not. And there have been many, many stories of people that came here and listened to the lifeboat, and it took a while. But all of a sudden, something sinks in, and the next thing you know, it really starts to become something that that you become uncomfortable being here and listening to all of this, and you start realizing that you probably need some help. So we're not upset, and I really appreciate your honesty. But let's talk about booze, because first of all, it is one of the most abused substances on the planet, and it has been forever, right? Alcohol has been around since the dawn of man, and the reason is pretty obvious stuff, but I think it's twofold. Number one, it's very easy to make. We saw this in prison. It's a very simple concept. Once something starts to ferment, right, it's just literally a bug develops. And that bug eats sugar and it burps out alcohol, which is why you get all of the pressure and sort of the carbonation and the bubbles. But way back in the day, people drink a lot of alcohol because very oftentimes the water was not was not drinkable. There were plenty of places where you had stagnant water. You were always safe drinking booze, and it became very, very, very popular. It was one of the first abused substances on this planet. But it is a dangerous, dangerous substance. Now, if you're wondering why I say that, some of the statistics are terrifying. For instance, believe it or not, half of everybody murdered on this planet is under the influence of alcohol when they're killed. So you take every murder victim that gets murdered around the world, 50% of them are drunk when they're killed. Flamin' Jackson, I love you too, brother. And then 50% of the people who are doing the murdering are under the influence of alcohol. And if that sounds like a really high number to you, then even the crack of the lid of a vodka bottle was calming. Yep. Halfway down the bottle, 30 minutes, I'd panic again about getting the next bottle. I think that's something that we all did, regardless of your substance of choice. As I started to run out of, the bag of heroin or whatever drug I happened to be abusing at the time, you've heard Mark and I talk about this. You would get the fix, and you'd get 10 or 15 minutes of peace, and then immediately you'd start to get concerned about the next one. And that was just sort of the nature of it. And I think the same thing happens with alcohol. I think that's across the board. Space Diesel says, alcohol was always the gateway to me getting bad on coke. I went through a rough few years with the blow. I'm glad the blow days are over, but I still got some work to do on the alcohol. I appreciate your honesty. A lot of people mix cocaine and alcohol. Alcohol is a respiratory depressant, right? And it's a drug that takes you down. Now, that isn't to say that some people don't get energy on it. And the truth of the matter is there are several different ways that people react to alcohol. There are some people who, within the first few shots into the body, their pulse will actually go up, not down. And, if you're listening to the sound of my voice and you are someone who is continuing to drink, check yourself out the next time you do. After you've got, 3 quick drinks into you, start and take a look at your pulse before you start drinking, and take a look at your pulse after you start drinking. You got to realize, hold on one moment. First time commenting, been watching for a while. Some of you or the captain might know my husband, but I just wanted to say hello. That is Charlie Murphy's wife, Mary Murphy. That's Charlie Mullen's wife. Mary, we love you. We're glad that you're here. Excellent. That is really a beautiful thing. So for some people, alcohol does something in the body that's different. It doesn't act necessarily uniquely like a depressant. In fact, what it does for some people, and they don't know the chemical that it releases in the brain, it's some kind of a neurostimulator. They have not pinpointed which one it is. But for some people, alcohol gives you an opiate feeling more than it gives you an alcohol feeling, as in what normally would happen with alcohol. For those people, they're in real trouble. And make no mistake, you talk about the addictive qualities of this stuff. Have you ever had a hangover? A hangover is alcohol withdrawal. Plain and simple. That's what a hangover is. You get really drunk, you do some stupid things. The next day you wake up in the morning and your mouth is dry and you got a headache, and all of these symptoms that you have of a hangover is your body demanding more alcohol. Just like a person does with opiates, where you go into a physical withdrawal. That's just a hangover. And, the reason that you hear the old adage, thank you so much, Mary. People say, well, I would just take a hair of the dog. It's one of the worst things that anybody can do, because what you're doing is you're starting a process that I have seen for some people. We had a guy on the lifeboat once that told a story and said, he started in college with a really serious hangover, and in the morning he couldn't face it, and he had 3 or 4 beers to take care of that hangover. And 20 years later, he was still on that same drink. He was still on the same bout because he drank every single day. Said the only time he ever missed was when he was locked up in jail from doing something stupid the night before. Now, am I telling you that every single person in the world needs to stop drinking? No. I don't say that about any drug. But I'm telling you that every single person in the world needs to get a real handle on what's happening when you're drinking alcohol. Because there are some things that it does to the body that are just absolutely incredible. Number one, if I said to you, at what age does your brain start to decline? We talked the other day about the front part of the brain really doesn't develop fully until kids are around the ages of 7 or 8. I was the worst level alcoholic. Full of hope, it sounds like you were. And I'm not, nothing judgmental in that. I was the worst level of addict as well in my previous drug of choice, to be sure. But yeah, there's something great about the honesty of that. When you really get a handle on where you were, it's a whole lot easier to move forward. But so the process of your frontal lobe, the part of your brain that does rational thought, you're about 7 or 8 before it fully develops. And we talked about why kids, live in that fantasy world and they can play, pick up anything and just sort of start to play with it as if it's a toy, because the imagination is fantastic, because that part of the brain isn't developed yet, and they're not based in any kind of reality quite yet. So at what time, go tell the like button you love it. Thank you, Brandon. And yes, please, I would be very happy if you gave the like button, the like button a thumbs up. It really does help the algorithm, and it helps the boat builds. The lifeboat get bigger. So please give that a smash. We'd appreciate it. At what point in life do you think that you start to decline? Because we all know that as you get older, obviously we're not as sharp at 50 as we were at 20. It's just the nature of the beast. And we're not as sharp at 60 as we were at 50. Now, there are exceptions to every rule. You see people who at 90 are just like, the sharpest people in the world. But at what point does that start to decline? At what point do you start to see a decline in, mental capabilities? And I don't just mean memory and things like that, but the ability to amass knowledge and take it in, and the ability to do things in the brain that very oftentimes would be called wisdom or things like it. That starts to decline at 25. True story, right? You reach your peak at late in your 24th year on the planet. Full of Hope says menopause, Tommy. Yes, well, fortunately, that's one bullet I will dodge. But so at 24, you peak, and then you start the decline. Now, there are things that you can do to stave this off. You've probably seen these cool little games that you can do online that are going to help with your brain. There is no science at all to back up that any of those things do anything. Sorry. But I spent a decent amount of time, as you guys probably know, this season I've really been leaning heavy on the brain, and I've been doing a lot of research and a lot of reading. And you know what? There's nothing out there that says that those games do anything. Sudoku, on the other hand, is a game that has some promise, that doing Sudoku works a part of the brain that is, that you can actually rebuild some pathways by doing that. Brandon Taylor says, today is day 48 free, and tomorrow I will have been free for 7 weeks. And you are right behind another of our good friends on the boat who hit 7 weeks yesterday, Mr. M. Hunt. Very proud of the both of you. I'm telling you, that's great stuff. It really is. So if your brain is going to start to decline at the age of 25, you need to do everything possible to try to keep that engaged. You want to keep that brain going. Trish Killian says, all of my paternal relatives drank their lives away. My father rarely drank. I have never had any interest in alcohol. I don't understand the family connections. I'm glad that you don't. Some of it is hereditary, and this has been studied. And some of it is that, like any other drug, there is something in the body, there's something in the mind, there's something in the soul that is missing. Doesn't mean they're bad people. It doesn't mean anything. But alcohol and drugs across the board fill a need that we don't have, right? Very oftentimes we heard Niall talk about this, and Niall knew a lot about drinking. But you create a fantasy world through alcohol. Now, one of the problems that we have with alcohol that we don't see with other drugs is a certain type of camaraderie, right? As I've used this illustration before, I'm never going to see an advertisement on the Super Bowl, on Super Bowl Sunday, for heroin or for opiates. You may see some for pharmaceuticals because they now sponsor everything. But you're going to see a lot of beer ads, and some of the most memorable ads of the Super Bowl, going back forever, have been beer ads. It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere, and it's become such a part of the fabric of our country that we take it for granted. that we just see commercials for alcohol all the time. And from a very young age, we get programmed to believe that, you know what, good times, there's always going to be, there's going to be some alcohol. If there's a party, there's going to be some alcohol. Wedding, there's going to be some alcohol. Somebody just passed away, probably going to be some alcohol, right? We toast the bride and groom. Alcohol is a part of the fabric of our country and a part of the fabric of the world. And this goes back forever. Unfortunately, if we were to have gone by drugs and picked the one from a medical standpoint, which drug is going to be the least dangerous? 50% of all murderers are drunk when they commit murder. 50% of the people who get murdered are drunk when they get murdered. These are facts. Right? We're not saying that about other drugs. That is booze. Now, here's a question for you, and this one literally floored me. What percentage of people that drink are going to become dependent on it? What would be your guess? Because this is something that I really hadn't done a lot of thought into. I spend a lot of time thinking about addiction, but for me, my drug of choice came in a spoon, or I burned it on tin foil. So it really was something else. You know what, Tara? Take a walk, please. If this is triggering you in any way, man, find 4 different walls to look at. Stop listening to me, please. And we'll be here when you get back, I promise you. Mary said, I had 2 wonderful uncles. My husband was alcoholics, but thank God my husband quit. Yes, he did. It's a great story, too. If you've never heard Charlie's story, we talk about it in season 1, and it's truthfully an amazing, amazing story. But the number of people who try alcohol who then become dependent on it, the number is 1 in 10. 1 in 10. So if you got, you think about these parties that you see on TV and, Super Bowl Sunday. Amen, Tara. If I were there, I'd go with you, provided it's not over 80 degrees. Hey, if I were there, I'd go with you. But you're doing the right thing. You see the advertisements during the Super Bowl, and they're showing 30 guys watching a football game. Well, that means 3 of them are going to be alcoholics. That's it. We think of the term, you hear the term Russian roulette all the time, right? That's taking 1 bullet and putting it in a cylinder of a gun that has 6 openings. And you spin it, right? You fire it. That's Russian roulette. You have a 1 in 6 chance of that going off and killing you. Well, imagine that cylinder was 10 instead of 6. That's what drinking is. Now, I want you to keep something in mind, because very oftentimes when you quit doing one substance, you start doing another. And I read comments from people, and I'm not judging anyone. Seriously, I'm not. And, I know people that have traded one drug for another, and people say, oh, that's awful, you shouldn't do that. Look, if you traded heroin for marijuana, I'm not angry at you. It's probably not such a bad trade. You understand what I'm saying? But a lot of times, because of the fact that this is such an accepted part of our society, a lot of people will take up drinking to quit cocaine or heroin or whatever it is that they're quitting. But if you have been addicted to a substance and you start drinking as a way to cope with the fact that you're getting clean, you're going to get addicted. Plain and simple. You're going to be the 1 in 10. Because an addictive personality, right? And I know that term literally doesn't, there's no such thing technically as an addictive personality according to science. But I promise you, someone who can get addicted to drugs can get addicted to alcohol like that. They can. And I was talking to a very close friend of mine today, and I said, I've never had a problem with alcohol. It's just not, it's not a substance that I ever abused. Again, I think it took too long, and I never wanted to sound like I was under the influence of something. And as crazy as it sounds, you wouldn't have known if I was under the influence of heroin or drugs like that. I could always sort of keep it together. But if I've had 2 or 3 beers, I start slurring. And although I've never developed a problem in it, so if I'm somewhere and someone's having, a couple of beers, maybe I'll have one, and it's never been a thing, but I'm not going to do it anymore. Honestly, the more I study this substance, the more I realize that this stuff is insanely dangerous. I mean, it really is. It is probably one of the worst decisions ever for this stuff to be legal. And if every drug on the planet was invented yesterday, alcohol would be illegal. Make no mistake. Because if you just look about what it does to the body, we talked about your brain peaking at 25. You want to talk about a drug that causes cognitive impairment. And I don't just mean while you're on it. But people who drink long term can do unbelievable damage to the brain. That downward slope is a very fast process if you're a chronic drinker. Space Jesus says, alcohol is so accepted and normalized by society. That's what makes it so tough. Also, it's everywhere you look. You're damn right. Right? You can't go into a store. You can't go, as you walk toward the store, you're seeing bars, you're seeing things, and it's on television. It's a constant thing. And I've always sort of, my heart goes out to people who that's their drug of choice, because it's in your face. It's in your face. Every bottle should have a skull and crossbones on it and stamped poison. It is a poison. I was going to be saying that in a minute. There's a reason that alcohol is processed out through the liver. And that reason is it's a poison, and that's what your liver does, right? It gets poison out of the system. My brother had what we called an addicted personality from the time he was 12 years old. Took him 40 years, but he finally killed himself. Trish, I'm so sorry. I really am. The disease that we all have claims so many lives. And not everybody whose lives are claimed by drug addiction die. Some really unfortunate ones give up their lives but live to 80. If you can hear the sound of my voice, then you can quit, right? You're still in a place right now where you have the ability to put this stuff behind you. And the question then becomes, because I promise you people, this is a subject matter that is going to cause a couple of people, sorry I'm looking down, but I realize that my phone is making sound, so I'm going to mute it. This is a subject that is going to cause a lot of people to click on this, right? Booze is something that people do come and look up. And there's going to be, people that weigh in on both sides of this. One of the real questions that you need to ask yourself is, today, like wages, I've swapped my vodka for Christ. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I promise you. Whether if you give up your drug of choice and trade it for religion, you probably have made a very good swap, in my personal opinion. I don't think that there are a lot of people that could argue that, even if you're not a believer. Right? It's a much healthier thing than drinking. So ask yourself, do I have a drinking problem? Now, I realize that the faithful crew here on the lifeboat, you know whether or not you have a problem. You wouldn't be here if you weren't well aware of what's going on in your life. But if you're hearing this for the first time, and you're questioning whether or not you have a problem, there are some pretty easy ways to tell if alcohol is an issue in your life. Do you regret the things that you do when you're on it? Do you wake up in the morning and go, oh, I can't believe I did that last night. I can't believe I said that last night. Regret is one of the first signs that things probably aren't great. You see, a real social drinker, right? Air quotes, normies. The people that do this, I felt so normal when I'm drunk. That's everybody. Rip Curl, good to see you. That's everybody. Everybody drinks or smokes or shoots to feel normal. You realize that this is what non-addicts, normies, this is the thing that they don't get. They assume that most people drink and the way they do, right? They think, I have 3 drinks and I'm all over the place. Why would anyone want to live like that? Because that's not how we lived, right? We feel all over the place when we're not drugged. And to quit, and I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but quitting is a completely different concept. Now you must relearn life. And this is something that we've been doing on the Lifeboat, right? We've been talking a lot about this in season 2. But the question, getting back to, how do you know if you need to quit? Number 1, do you have regret? Do you regret the things that you do when you drink? The things that you said, the people that you hurt? That's number 1. Number 2, start to look at the parts of your life and say, is alcohol affecting, and then go ahead and put in, is it affecting my relationships? Does the woman I love say to me, hey, you know what? you're drinking too much and you don't treat me really well. You said some really stupid stuff last night. And, is it affecting your relationships? Is it affecting your reliability? When I was on heroin, I was the least reliable person on the planet. Well, I guess depending on how you looked at it. I was the most reliable person on the planet if you were looking at it as in you could count on me not coming through. You could count on me not doing what I promised to do. Right? Is it keeping you from fulfilling things you said you would do? These are very simple litmus tests, and it may sound painfully obvious, but a lot of times when you've been in the life a long time, you go, you know what? I drink a little bit too much, and to be honest, it is affecting my relationships, my finances. Do you find yourself staying at the bar until you have nothing left in your pocket? Do you find it impossible to walk away from a drink? And there are people listening to my voice right now that know exactly what I'm talking about. I have known people that literally could not walk away from a drink. If there was this much left in the glass, they could not leave that. Couldn't leave the table. I remember having this conversation with a close friend of mine who admitted to me that he thought he had an alcohol abuse problem. And we were getting up to leave and he was walking back to the table. I said, hey, leave it. It's a great test. Go ahead and leave it. And he's like, well, it's not a big deal. I could leave it. I said, then do it. Just walk away from it. We got 8 feet away. And he said to me, man, I paid for that. This is a stupid test. I paid for that. I'm not wasting that money. I said, okay. He's sober today, which is a good thing. But the inability to walk away. I swear I thought it was a pillow. That is a very, very interesting thing to say. I remember talking to my father once, and I've told this story before, but my father said that there's no pillow softer than a clean conscience. And I remember listening to him say that, and I thought, you should try heroin. Right? Because heroin cleans your conscience. Not in a good way. I mean, it's the worst way in the entire world, but it eliminates it. For the time that you're on it, you don't have a conscience. So there's nothing to worry about, right? Until you get sober, and then the guilt and everything kicks in. And the same thing I'm sure happens with alcohol. But you have to ask yourself, what's being affected by this? My finances? How about work? If you answered yes to 2 of these, and you probably need to take a good hard look at what booze is doing in your life. You could substitute any other drug you want in there too. But once again, because of how socially accepted this is, I never said to somebody, sorry, I know I was a little late this morning. It's a tough night last night. Did like 6 grams of heroin. Right? There's no way you could say that to anybody. They would look at you like you were nuts, right? Or they'd think you were kidding. But with booze, it's accepted. You could say to somebody, I had a little too much to drink last night. What do people do? They chuckle, right? There was an actor back in the day named Foster Brooks. You got to be of a certain age. I assure you that I'm dating, But Foster Brooks' entire routine was slurring. He was just a guy that pretended to be drunk, or was drunk, I don't know. But he was famous for talking like this and burping. It's so acceptable that people joke about it constantly. The guy with the lampshade on his head, right, at a party. Right? Someone got drunk and did this, and those things were considered funny. Andrea, welcome to the Lifeboat. Don't know that I've ever said hello, but welcome. We're happy to have you. Ask yourself, is this affecting? And then just go down the checklist. And if 2 of those pop up, then you really need to take a look at where you're at. Now, does that mean you're a raging alcoholic? No, but you might be. The next step is, if you really truthfully believe that it's not a problem, I just got a little out of control, prove it. Right? To yourself, not me. Prove it. Quit drinking. Take off for 2 weeks. Take off for a month. Right? It's not a problem in your life. You should be able to set it down for 30 days. Realistically, more often than not, that's not going to happen. It's really not. Now, I talked earlier about trying to slow down cognitive problems. You want to hear something crazy? If you got in good shape once in your life, So once in your life, you had a six-pack abs, right? Buffed up, been working out, going to the gym. You're actually going to be healthier in old age, not just in your body, but in the dome. From doing that once. If you could maintain that through your entire life, that's going to do more for your brain than all of those little video game things that are supposed to keep you sharp and, buying Prevagen or any of the other stuff that you're doing. Working out, staying healthy. Alcohol is completely against every single part of that. It is toxic to our body. Now, I'm not a person who's telling you, so when you go to a wedding next week, you do not have a glass of champagne. I'm not telling you how to live. But I'm telling you that when they show you the ads on TV, it looks harmless. And, it's just such a part of our society that we really take it to mean that, it almost is harmless. Well, it's not. It's toxic. It's so bad for your body, it's incredible. Especially at the level that we tend to do it. Hey, Miss Honeybee, great to see you. I think we've said hi to you in a minute. Really, really good to see you. I saw a comment, people. Bear with me because this one, it's funny. I've got screens everywhere. So they sort of catch my eye. So a couple of things. I got to assume that 5/21/19 is a sobriety date. And if it is, good for you. That is fantastic. Honestly, that's a long time. And it is very much a badge of honor, truthfully. And there was one other one here. I think it was Miss V. I never had a six-pack anything. People, once you start to get all of these things under control, we were talking a lot this season about the next step. Because saying I'm done drinking isn't enough. I promise you. I mean, it's enough to be a really damn good start. But earlier on, when now I'm forgetting exactly who said it, but it was, let me see if I can find it here. No, I can't. But, somebody was talking about Trish Killian, I'm sorry. Trish Killian said, it didn't make sense to her, the fact that her family was all sort of wrapped up in this. People, when you remove that, when you remove something that is this big, right? This huge part of who you are. It becomes part of your soul. It becomes part of your personality. It becomes part of everything. When you remove it, it leaves a hole. Plain and simple. So the fastest way to start healing really quickly is to fill that hole. You have to replace the booze. You don't have to get rid of it. You got to replace heroin. It's not enough to get rid of it. So reprogramming your mind, reprogramming the body, doing all of these things ensures that, number one, you're going to be able to stay sober. But it also starts you on that ladder that we're talking about, right? It was your best friend. I got you. Well, if you lost them on that day, we're sorry. The number of people that have been lost to drugs and alcohol. People. I was going to do a show where we put, some of the things, some of the stars that we've lost to overdoses and to drug and alcohol related deaths. And people, it would take more than an hour. I started to honestly get depressed going through it. I got up and walked out. I had to get out of the room. And I thought, no, I don't think I'll ever do that show. But the number of people just that are famous that we've lost is just absolutely insane. I love this boat too. Thank you. I really do. M. Hunt says, I filled that hole with a lot of strong homemade edibles. Healthiest cookies on earth. You know what? Whatever you fill the hole with, it needs to be filled. You understand what I'm saying? And there's some science to all of this. You have to reprogram the brain. One of the coolest things, as I've been studying this season and working on the brain as it relates to addiction. Do you know one of the greatest things you can do for your brain? And there's science out the wazoo to back this up. One of the best things that you can do. I love this boat. It teaches me things I don't even have the questions for. That is such a cool thing to say. I mean, that is really a cool thing to say. I love the way you put that, too. Thank you, Trish. That's awesome. It really is. There is science, people, a ton of it, that doing for others is one of the most rewarding things for the brain, for the everything about who you are. There is nothing more satisfying than doing for other people. Kindness, going out of your way to help others is the most rewardable thing. Leisure, good to see you, bud. It is the most rewarding thing that you can do, and it has a massive effect on the brain, the body, the soul. You want to talk about staying sober? Well, I love you guys too. I really do. Before this show ends, we're going to talk about this season's shirt. We got some stuff. I'm going to give you guys a couple of the names for the shirts and what we're talking about putting on them, and then you guys are going to decide. Amen. Volunteer at the local mission. Boom. I want to tell you something. People say all the time, when people say what you do on the lifeboat, it's kind, it's greedy. Make no mistake. What Mark and I get out of doing this, there's no way to quantify it. No amount of money could be worth what we get out of this. This is a high that doesn't go away, and it's a high that you don't have to worry about getting sick from. It's a high you don't have to worry about buying by the gram. So yeah, it from the outside it probably looks different than it feels from sitting in this chair. But this is something that we do because we get so much out of it. And if you think I'm crazy, or if you think this is just one of those things that hosts say, try it for a couple of days. Spend a couple of days looking out for somebody else. And you know what you're going to find? That if you're looking out for 3 people other than you, in the very near future, you're going to try to make it 4. And in the very near future, you're going to try to make it 5. And when you hear somebody that sends you an email or says, boy, you have no idea how much this helped me. Hey, my brother Johnny, good to see you. That's a drug in and of itself. You think I'm kidding? I was in a chat room the other day. It was another sobriety. It's not a channel, but more like a forum. And when you go in, they want you to say, who you are and what your drug of choice is, how long you've been sober. And I said, my previous drug of choice was heroin, and I've been sober, going on 7 years. But my drug of choice today is helping people get sober. Mark Wages, he says, I can't stay. Just know I love and miss you. See you tomorrow. Please share the stream and hit like. God bless. See you tomorrow. You're in good hands. Thank you, Mark. And you take care of yourself tonight. We love you and we miss you. That's my partner, people. I am the Noise Opera. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. He's a perfect example. People, someday, I might ask Noise Opera, and I'll reach out to him because I don't want to put him on the spot. But our correspondence back in the day when he first found the lifeboat and we were talking to one another, the person he was then and the person he is now, as far as East is from West. And, the way that computers work, I've never gotten rid of anything. So someday I'd love to go over those with him. And if he was comfortable, I'd love to have him on the show because I'm telling you, people, how people transform and how much they get out of those transformations. He's such a great example. Holidays like tomorrow are a lot easier. It's funny that you say that, truthfully, because I hear this a lot. There are people that for whom, especially if you're a drinker, holidays are really, really tough. 4th of July, party, right? Labor Day weekend, party. And that term, I hate that, by the way. Much love and prayers to you all, my friends on the lifeboat. You all rock. Rip, you know something? Rip did a short the other day. And I'll paraphrase, but he was talking about just stopping to smell the roses. And it was just shorts are 30 seconds a minute. I watched it about 6 times. There was something so beautiful. And again, for the same reason that Rip is such an amazing person to interview, his ability to convey things, he's gifted. If you've never gone over to his channel, you should. Rip is just a really great communicator. And You talk about just a great spokesman for sobriety. He's a happy dude. One of the things that angers me more than anything in the world, and this really applies to booze, because of how accepted it is, sometimes people look at you like you're weak for quitting, which is ironic if you think about it. Holy mackerel, is it ironic. Because there is nothing that shows more intestinal fortitude than being able to put down your drug of choice, especially something like alcohol. You know? But I'm tired of people thinking that giving up drugs or alcohol means you're going to have less fun in life. That really has to be the most ignorant concept in the entire world. Oh yeah, heroin was a ball. I can't begin to tell you the fun. I don't know whether, running out of stores with stolen stuff, hoping that they weren't going to tackle you and take you to jail. I don't know if that was more fun or if it was waking up in the morning knowing that if you didn't come up with $700 that day illegally, that you were just going to be sicker than you've ever been in your life. Good times. Good times. People, the fun starts the day you quit. Takes a minute, I promise you, because you have to learn how to have fun again. But you talk about how much better life is sober. I mean, I could do a 5-hour live feed and not stop talking about how much better life is sober. Rip says, if I missed any hellos or love and prayers, I'm sorry. I hope you know I appreciate it, and you all. You all matter and have value. I am doing my chores while I am watching. Chores are good. Life is worth more. Amen. I'll tell you something. My brother Johnny and I spend a lot of time talking about the bad old days. You know what I mean? From my life. I spend a lot of time, looking back on some of the really, really stupid things that I did, when under the influence. And, I spent a lot of my life under the influence. So for years, I just did really stupid things. But I can't tell you how many times he'll just reach out and say, how much better is life? How much better is life? There are times it's almost, you get to a point where you almost feel guilty because it's just, I look at people that are still in the game, people, at least once a month, maybe more than that. I'll get an email from someone that says, why do you do this? Or they're always they're looking for the angle. You know what I mean? Like, at what point do I say, I'm going to need $19.95 a month if you're going to continue? Like, because there's got to be an angle, right? Nobody could just, actually want to help people get sober because it's the right thing to do or because it feels good. I think that there are a lot of people that quite simply don't get it. But what it comes down to, and I know that there's a ton of you that understand exactly what I'm saying. Once you're free, looking at somebody else in chains is painful. Plain and simple. I mean, once the chains are off, to see them on somebody else breaks your heart in a way that I never thought it would have been possible. I figured that if I could get clean, the last thing that I would want to do is be anywhere near anybody that wasn't. And, right in the beginning, I used to think, if I could do this, they're just weak or whatever. But then coming to grips with what being sober meant, not getting sober. Make no mistake, people, any jackwagon in the world can get sober. But staying sober requires effort, and it requires learning who you are, and it requires a decent amount of effort to figure out what it was that you were trying to get rid of. Right? Why were you doing what you were doing? Rip says, when I first decided to stop doing all those fun chemicals, I actually thought I wouldn't be as funny or popular, etc. Come to find out, I was even more fun and funny. Funny looking when I stopped. You know what, Rip? It's a great point. We get a thing in our head. It does require honesty, Phil, no question. We get a thing in our head that, we're the life of the party because of booze, or we're good communicators because of alcohol or because of drugs. And you hear this a lot with rock stars that get sober. We lost an amazing musician in Stevie Ray Vaughan. And I've told this story on here before. I saw Stevie Ray Vaughan in concert multiple times. Very, very talented guitarist. I mean, one of the greatest guitarists ever. And just a good blues musician from Texas. And but I saw him in concert and he was awful. I'm a fan, so don't send me hate mail. But I had seen him when he was so wasted that he just couldn't perform. But in his head, obviously, that you think you think you're doing better, and The last time I saw him was pretty close to right before he had the helicopter accident. But he came out on stage and apologized. He said, "I want to apologize to all the people that saw me before because I wasn't any good." He said, "I thought I was, and then I looked at clips of me playing." He said, "And I was just awful." And he proceeded to put on a concert that was one of the most unbelievable things I've ever seen. And he played for hours and hours, and it was like Jimi Hendrix up there, just tearing it up, and actually said a prayer during that concert. So he really had just changed his life, and it was a beautiful thing. My brother Johnny says, alcohol is a wicked, accomplished liar. Boy, oh boy. I think drugs in general, but yeah, you're right. Steve-O is a prime example of being able to get sober and being successful no matter how far in the hole you are. Good documentary on YouTube. Check it out. You know what? Agreed. Whether you dig who he is, and if I've had a lot of conversations over the years about Steve-O and his sobriety, and there are people that just don't particularly like Jackass or any of the stuff that the guys that none of that matters. Put all that aside and just look at the man. And he's a guy that has managed to crawl out of a pretty vicious addiction, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for what Steve-O's been able to do. And yeah, he's right. There's a really good documentary about it. A lot of times we think of addiction and rock bottom being, you don't have any money left, and you're living on the street. When there's an abundance of money and you're addicted to alcohol and drugs, it can be a whole lot tougher. It really can be a whole lot tougher. You know what, Noise Upper? Thank you, man. For real. Thank you. You're an inspiration, bud. You really are, and I'm glad that you're on the boat. So, as I was saying earlier, people, there needs to be a replacement. So, you eliminate the drugs and the alcohol. That's base camp. At that point, you're going to start climbing. It should be painfully obvious to anyone watching what I did, right? What did I replace heroin with? Well, this is a very big part of my life. And obviously, the watch thing, I'm very, very into it. I love what I do for work. But one of the reasons that what I do for work is so important to me has zero to do with money. And yeah, I love watches. They're one of the passion of my life. But what it really does is it frees up a lot of time to work with you guys. It frees up a lot of time for me to work one-on-one with people who are addicted. Miss V says, the boat and coloring is my replacement. You know how legit that is? For real. And I'll tell you why. Because number one, this is exactly what I'm talking about. One of the things that alcohol does, like my brother said, it's a great liar. It makes you think you're being social, right? I'm being social. I'm going out about. No. You can be alone in a room of 70 people if you're drinking. You're not connecting. There's no real connection. Here, what we get, the reason that we keep coming back, the reason that everybody here tells everybody here they love them, is because there's a connection here that has nothing to do with any of that trash. It's real. There's no chemical. There's nothing to make this fake. Lady Fiona Crispin says, I never touched drugs. If anything ever affected me, it was alcohol. When I was a lot younger, I drank lots. I never was a drunk, but I knew that drinking turned me pretty quickly into someone that I'm not. Well said. Well said. And you know what? Honesty goes a long way. But Miss V says, the boat replaced alcohol in a way that works beautifully because there is connectivity. How many times have we said connection? The opposite of addiction, right, isn't sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection. Drugs and alcohol separate you from love, from society, from work, from everything. And the more points of connectivity that you can make, the better a chance you have of staying sober. So we come here and we talk about the issues that affect people trying to get sober. That was the plan. What happened was something completely above and beyond that. What happened is you guys took over. And I remember talking to Mark in the very beginning, and I said, if within the first year, people start to advise each other, and people start telling people they're there for them, 2 weeks. We were 2 weeks in before the first time somebody said something that just floored me. I remember reading it and going, Mark, and he said, yeah, that's exactly what we were talking about. We wanted this. There's a reason that the damn gold standard is addicts helping other addicts. Because if you're not, there's just not much. I could pick up a textbook and I can read to you about it, but you're not getting connected. The person that has never, ever been there to say to you, oh, should we embarrass my daughter? Hold on 1 second, people. Hey, you're live on the lifeboat. How are you?
Hi.
You want me to put you live for everybody to see, or should I call you when this is over?
You should probably call me when this is over.
All right, I love you. I'll talk to you soon.
Can they hear me?
Yeah, absolutely they can. I love you. I'll talk to you when the show's over. Point of connectivity. My daughter, somebody that I didn't have because of booze. Because of dope. But points of connection. Miss V says the coloring. You realize what that does. This is the connection. The coloring is getting out of your head. Small things. Baking bread, right? Working in the garden. Archery. I got a friend that has taken up archery. Watches. Something. Remember we did a show called Find the Passion. But everything is a point of connection. And the more things you're connected to that don't have anything to do with drinking and drugging, the better a chance you got of getting sober. And more than that, better a chance you have of achieving happiness. When you're deep in the life, there's no time for family. Not really. There's no time for family. Work gets put on the back burner. God gets put on the back burner. Right? And I'm not saying you got to believe in God. I have to believe in God. But I'm not saying that you do. But heroin took that away from me. If you had said to me, do you believe in God? I would have said yes. But nothing that I did in life would have indicated that. You know what I mean? So yeah, there really is something to this being one of the things that can take up some of the space that your drugs or alcohol did. There's a reason we all keep coming back. And I promise you it's not because I'm handsome or you dig the hat. It's because there's a connection here that's real. Read the live chat for any one of the live feeds that we've done. It's not just people leaving comments. It's people that know one another. State and federal prison, directly the result of addiction. 15 years, real sober, and then I fell. Now I'm back. Hallelujah. So very grateful. Do me a favor, Chris. Reach out to me in the Dropbox. I'd love to chat with you one-on-one. I too spent time in both the state and federal prison, so we probably have a few things in common. Don't remember ever seeing you on the lifeboat. Welcome to the boat. We're glad to have you here. We really are. People, I want to thank you guys for telling people about what we're doing here, because word of mouth is doing some really serious growth here, and it's pretty beautiful stuff. We're not just, I don't care that the number goes up. Whether you believe that or not, I don't. We're not trying to buck to see how huge a channel we can get. We're trying to see how many people can actually get help. And connecting with one another, the level of honesty that you get in a place like this. Full of Hope says, hallelujah indeed. Chris Studer, great to meet you. Yeah, and you know what? I truthfully can tell you that I know exactly how you feel, because walking out of the federal system into freedom, I'm not bagging on anyone else in the world, but freedom is wasted on people that don't know what it means to not be free. And there are parallels between drug addiction and incarceration that are just mind-bending. Not just that one leads to the other, but I know a lot of people on the street who are incarcerated, and they're incarcerated by vodka, or they're incarcerated by heroin, or they're incarcerated by blow or meth or whatever. You're not living a free life. You have no control whatsoever over the things that you do. Because there's no such thing as free will if you got to put a needle in your arm to not be sick. There's no free will. And don't let anybody fool you. But we're getting close to the top of the hour, people. So for those who are already on the boat, this season is all about trying to concentrate on making your sobriety rock solid, right? Keep quitting. Keep finding something new to quit, right? Once you get rid of the booze and the drugs or anything else in your life and you feel like it's smooth sailing, I promise you're just starting. At that point, try to find something that is inhibiting you. I was a rageaholic. I'm really trying to work on that. And you people don't hear it here, but I'd like to curse less. I really would. And it's something that, I struggle with. And I don't struggle with it in front of people. I do it on my own more often than not. Because I don't want to offend people and I don't want to look offensive and I don't want to look like I don't have control over myself. But you know what? When I'm alone and I'm working on a watch, I've been known to let it fly. And you say, who cares? It's a lack of control over emotions. And that's not something that I want to have anything to do. You know what I mean? Don't want any part of that. I really would like to just have control. And this season is going to be about that. I don't curse a lot because I don't have anyone to curse to. Oh, Miss V, that's great. That really is. That's great. Darkness can't exist without light, and light can't exist without darkness. I agree with you on both of those things. Let's bring a little more light in. Let's all try to bring a little more light into the world. It's the world could use it. Really could. The world could use it. I think we're making headway in a lot, not just personally, but in the big picture. I really do believe that we're making headway, and we need to keep doing it. Working on watches is so difficult and frustrating, especially with Squirrel jumping on everything. Lady Crispin has seen Squirrel interfere with me trying to do things with watches, and probably has heard me say heck darn more than once too. But I'm working on it. I really am. And I spoke to somebody today. I don't know why I say that. It's the weekend. I spoke to Alan Valentine. You all know who I talk to on every weekend. But Alan's in a great place. And being sober is a good thing. But Alan is he's been sober now a long time, and he's realizing that it's next level stuff, and he's always looking for things that could improve him. And I think he had an epiphany this last week, and it's been because he's looking for something else to quit. And it's awesome to talk to him because he's just one of those cats that takes the things that we talk about here and immediately tries to see if he can implement them. And there's really something to that, people. Here's the thing. If this was Tommy Scoville advice, I'd tell you to be careful. Well, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, I'm not. But I'm also not making any of this up. This is what I've done is culled a whole crap load of information from a lot of people way smarter than me. And then I bring it to you guys in a way that I hope, you can understand. That's it. I don't have a PhD in any of this stuff. I've just had a lot of time on my hands to do a lot of reading. And this season, really, the first season was about quitting. This season is about staying quitting and bringing this to the next level. It's about living your best life. Johnny, thank you for being here. And Mary, thank you for commenting. Really. Because you're, I was going to say your better half, but let's be honest. You're his better half. No, I love the both of you, and I'm really glad that you said hello. That's awesome. It really is. Leisure, I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you're home, correct? That's a pretty big deal. I'm really happy with that. So people, pay attention, because we're running out of time, and there's something that... as far as T-shirts go for this year, one of the T-shirts that we have been talking about, my bobbleheaded partner and I, was the If at First You Don't Succeed, Quit Again. That is a shirt that we have talked about. One of the other shirts, and most of these either Mark and I came up with, or they were suggestions from you. I just realized Tommy and I are currently wearing the exact same T-shirt. Well, that's a good look then. Good for you. One of the other ones, and more of you wrote this into me than any other one. I love this boat. There are a ton of you that have suggested I love this boat as a T-shirt for season 2. And the third one that we hear a lot is still quitting. Obviously, regardless, the back is still going to say Lifeboat Crew, and somewhere on the shirt or somewhere else it is going to say Season 2. So, but I'm late. I will watch the replay. We'll order a shirt. Happy Sunday. I love this boat. I don't know if she's just saying that or she's voting, but do reach out to me. Send me an email. Don't just do it in the comment section. Send me an email and tell me what you think. I love this boat. Still quitting. If at first you don't succeed, quit again. Those are the 3 options. Or if you think that there's something that's way better, you can send that to me. I want to make sure, yes, a shirt that says I love this boat. You know what? I'm leaning that way too, but it's your boat. So, and it really is. I got to tell you one quick story. I know we're at the top of the hour, but yesterday, a lot of people, Chris, thank you for being here, man. And I thank you for sending me an email. I will get to you shortly, I promise. Met your brother and he's great. Need to meet you. You will. I promise you. Those days are coming. But I got to tell you a quick story. On last night's live feed, you guys got silly with doing the donations. People, make no mistake. You can watch this program until the end of time. Never donate anything. We're going to love you the exact same way. For real. We've never once asked for a donation. Honestly, I get people that say we do. I've never asked for a donation on here, and I never will. I do this because I love it. It's great that you guys donate. It really is, and it lets us do some cool things. But yesterday, you guys got crazy with it. And when I went back and I was watching the replay of the live feed, when someone donates on this channel, everybody in the comment section thanks them. Thank you. As if the money was being donated to every crew member on this boat. This really is your boat. You guys make that really, really, really obvious. And I think that's why this thing is as special as it is. Because it's you guys' boat. But make no mistake, I'm still the captain. Full of Hope says, I love this. I love the lifeboat. People may ask, what? Why? There's a lot of truth to that. Reach out. Send me an email. Let me know what you think on that. That's important. Tomorrow night, we will be back right here. And same bat time, same bat channel. The Monday night show. My bobbleheaded partner will be here. And you know what? I missed him. Mark's been on fire this season, man. He really has. I have absolutely missed him today. Mark's a beast. But it will be me. Thank you, lady. Fiona Crispin. I'll stop that. Come quit with a family who have quit and we'll help you quit. A lot of quitting going on. Email me, people, and let me know exactly what you think. I will be back tomorrow night with my partner, Mark Wages. I am Captain Tommy Scoville. On the other side of the glass should be Mark Wages. He will be back tomorrow. And, of course, the reason you all came here, Stacy Michaels, good to see you. A fat cat in a basket. Hey. Good night, everybody. We love you. You're a good kid.